Good morning, everyone. So today, this week we've been doing, the theme has been isolation, or dealing with isolation, coping with isolation and solitude, that sort of thing. And so 2 days ago, I explored the story of Meggia. So Meggia was one of the Buddha's disciples, and he basically wanted to go to this pleasant place to meditate, and but when he went there, he got the Buddha's permission in the end. He went there, and then he just couldn't concentrate because his mind was just all over the place, you know. And he went back to the Buddha and he said, it was such a beautiful spot, but my head was so chaotic. And the Buddha gave him a teaching, and what he taught was that first of all, he needed to be in contact with people who were more experienced than he was, people who had the quality of Kalyana, or Kalyana Mitrata, which means spiritual friendship. So on the basis of, and this might be that it might be just in the form of somebody that wasn't there at the time, but somebody he looked up to in his mind, you know, but that it gave him guidance. It gave him something that's embodied qualities that he wanted to aspire to, and on that basis he would try and practice ethics, and then he would talk about his ethics with others to clarify problems, and then get clear, and then be able to practice in meditation, and finally to cultivate wisdom. So this is the path. So it's like, it isn't about finding a nice place and then that's the end of it. It's about getting into some sort of lineage of inspiration that actually guides you. And then yesterday we talked about, I introduced the figure of Milarepa, who's the Buddhist yogi living up in the mountains, and we also went into the idea of the dark night of the soul. You know, like what happens when everything just falls apart for us, and we don't recognise anything, and we don't recognise ourselves, and we don't feel able to communicate with others, and and I kind of outlined what the Buddha had to say on fear, and one of the things he said was that the main thing he said was that, you know, when fear comes up, when anxiety comes up, what we do is we don't stop doing what we're doing. We carry on doing what we're doing, and in a way, we kind of face it. We face in the carrying on is a kind of facing of it, but at the same time, you know, we have to obviously be sensitive to ourselves, and to have a sense of care as we move forward into difficulty, and kind of looking after ourselves. So that was yesterday, and then so today what we're going to look at is, in a way it's a bit like go back to 2 days ago, the mango grove. So Meggia thought that Mango Grove would be a good idea because it was a beautiful place. So what I'm going to look at this morning is structure and organisation. So, you know, so when we're trying to do anything, it's the stuff in the background has an effect on us. You know, whether what our environment, you know, whether our environment is aesthetic and organised, or whether it's chaotic. You know, what's the value of bringing structure into things, and you know, organised direction. So so that this is another thing that's going to be that is relevant to coping with isolation, with being on our own, with working with our mental states in this unusual situation. So yeah, so that's later on, and then right now we're going to do some walking meditation and then a loving kindness meditation. So if you want to stand up, so we're all kind of in our own spaces. So you might have a reasonable sized space. You might have a small space. There might be a few of you in a room somewhere. But just work with what space you've got. So you might just have to walk round in like tiny little circles if you have to. But the point is this is mindfulness being brought into movement, and it has its own benefits, and its own uses. So okay. So if we all stand up, then we'll start. Okay, so begin by just standing. And maybe just take a few deeper breaths. Breathing in energy and fresh air, breathing out tension and any stale air in the bottom of your lungs. And then just taking your attention down to your feet and just noticing how it feels for your feet to be touching the ground. So if you've got slippers on or socks or bare feet, whatever it is, just whatever your experience is, just noticing that. And noticing your experience of the rest of your body, particularly your skin. So notice how it feels to be wearing clothes. And maybe there's a feeling of coolness where the moisture on your skin is evaporating. And acknowledging how you're feeling at the moment as well. So in any meditation we take the whole of ourselves as much, well, that's part of the point, is to bring the whole of ourselves into contact with whatever it is we're doing. So meditations are often simple activities. So we might be just watching our breath, or we might be just walking in a slow way around the room. And doing that simple activity, we're not having lots of input, allows us to collect ourselves around into that activity. And just being aware of of anything you can hear. And just imagine that sound is passing through the air, and then it's impacting on your ears, your eardrums, and then it's making those vibrate, and then they're sending an electrical signal down the nerves from the ear to the brain. And it's the same with every sense. So it's the same with sight. The optic nerve is taking electricity to the brain, and with all the sensation, the touch sensations, tangible sensations of the body, all turn into electricity, which moves down the nerves and into the brain. What we can smell, what we can taste. So we're not trying to shut anything out in meditation. We're not trying to isolate ourselves in that sort of way. We're staying in the world, and we're just receiving that world of sensation. And we're trying to have a soft, receptive awareness of it. So it's just a natural process that we just let happen. And then just begin to take a step. So just take a small step with your left foot. And as you do so, just noticing what sensations you can feel in that foot. And how does the ball of your foot feel as it touches the ground, and the individual toes? What can you actually say is happening there? I can notice a slight pulling between the heel of your foot and the arch. Look, it's a little bit like a dull pain or something like that. So what can you actually say is happening there, and what can you say is happening in the other foot, which hasn't moved yet? And then just having a sense of shifting your weight gradually onto your left foot, and notice what happens in your body. What happens in your body as you shift your weight? So what happens in the sensations inside your body? So I can notice there's an energy here now, and from my chest downwards, down my leg, as I think about moving, and then just make a movement. And how does it feel to have lifted the heel off the ground with your other foot? And now taking a step with that foot, and just turning your body slightly, and noticing what it is that you're looking at now. So your view will have changed a little bit if you've slightly rotated your position. And just taking in whatever you're seeing. Receiving what you're seeing. Without any kind of judgment. It's just that's just what you're seeing. This is your experience at the moment. And now shifting your weight onto your left foot again, and taking another step, and turning again a little bit more to the left, and notice what you're looking at now, and notice how you're feeling at the moment. So just in your own time, just taking measured steps around the room, and as you do so, try and keep your mind and your body together. So one isn't rushing ahead of the other. And trying as best you can to just have a sense of enjoyment and appreciation of your experience, of what you're looking at, of what you're seeing. And working with the energy in your body so that that sense that we've had before of your body supporting your mind and emotions. So if your body's nicely balanced, poised, and you're moving, then this can give us a nice sense of kind of upwelling energy in the body. And then when we sit down in meditation, that energy will be there for us. So thinking of the effect of doing this walking meditation later, when we're doing our sitting meditation. So being mindful of the possible effects that doing this can have, and looking to maximise those effects. So we're looking for uprightness in the body, we're looking for energy in the body. But we only get that through keeping the mind and body in the same place. So we're not disconnecting between the one and the other. We're not coming from ideas where the mind is racing ahead. We're coming from experience, where we're working with our body as it actually is. Our perspective on our body is one which is about how the body actually is. And how does it feel now? How does the floor feel pressing up against your feet? And just making your own decision about when you move. It might be that you want to just stop and stand still if it helps to better collect yourself together. And then when you feel ready, you can start moving again. So even though we might be in a relatively small space, a lot of our day, I think if we were to try doing this walking meditation at regular intervals, and then maybe follow it by some sitting meditation, it would help our mind to calm down and to feel a bit more like there is space actually. We might have a greater sense of what we actually have, the positive conditions that we actually have. So just noticing the shift of sensations as you walk around from one foot to the other foot, changing experience. So yeah, so sometimes we can feel a bit overwhelmed by our environment, by maybe clutter, and disorganisation. But I think the best way to work with that is to create some space somewhere, some aesthetic space somewhere in our experience. And then focus on that, so we have a positive sense of space and organisation. So it might be that we make one part of our flat the more beautiful, the more organised place, and then when we need to retreat and experience more space, more organisation, we go there. And we can always come back to this sort of this kind of exercise, walking meditation, to give us that sense of space, of vitality. noticing any mental states like impatience. Just allowing those to be there as well. Not trying to shut anything out of our experience. Taking your impatience along with you into the walking meditation. Maybe breathing into it, breathing into any resistance to this simple act of walking around. Okay, now just coming to a stop. And just being aware of ourselves standing. And then taking up your posture for meditation. Okay, so carrying on, being aware of our body. So how does our body feel? What can we notice is happening in this position? So just sitting on a chair or on some cushions on the floor, meditation cushions. Just contacting, so we're going to do the loving kindness meditation, so just contacting any sense that is there in your experience of spaciousness. So it's well known that it's not very easy to feel compassion or love for ourselves or for others if we're just in a rush all the time. If we don't feel like we have any space. So what do you need to do to feel like you do have some space here? So maybe making it conscious that we're going to do this practice for about 15 minutes. So giving yourself 15 minutes of your life just to do this practice, having a sense of why you're doing it. To improve your emotional responses towards yourself and towards other people. Is that a good thing? Is it worth giving yourself 15 minutes for? What are the benefits of doing this practice? So traditionally, it's said that doing the Metta Bhavana helps us at death when we're not so afraid, and it gives us better sleep. But it obviously puts us in much kind of more intimate contact with ourselves and with other people. So we are going to look after ourselves better. We're going to be more careful, more considerate. These sorts of qualities. So we're going to do a 3-stage practice, focusing on cultivating loving kindness towards ourselves, and then towards a good friend, somebody who is just a friend, they're roughly the same age. We're not attracted to them romantically, and then towards the rest of the world. So just closing your eyes. The Metta Bhavana. So in the first stage, what we're looking to do is to transform our emotion towards ourselves to be a bit warmer, a bit kinder, or even a lot warmer, a lot kinder. So with emotion, with loving kindness or metta, emotion can be kind of weak, or it can be quite strong, it can be faint, it can be passionate. So it's about wanting something. So the more strongly we can want our own welfare, the more likely we are to make effort to bring it about. So it has the quality of being potentially unlimited in its intensity, loving kindness. It's also universal, so it applies to all beings. All beings want to be happy, so this is why we would want them to be happy, because this is their nature. And it's also unconditional, so it's like we're not kind to ourselves or others in order to get something back. It is its own reason. So just looking at what your emotion is at the moment towards yourself. It might be quite warm and positive. It might be a bit flat. It might be a bit critical. But whatever it is, it's always possible to shift it towards something a bit warmer, a bit kinder. by an act of will, of striving and straining. That doesn't work. It's by cultivating the things that actually help it. Just having a sense of what happiness is for you. What has been a happy time for you in the past? What is the quality like? Maybe there's a sense of potential there, of spaciousness, of connection with others. Maybe there's a sense of meaning because you're doing something which you think is going to be helpful to the world. Or you're just really appreciating a bit of space, a bit of being on your own. Just trying to tune into what the experience of happiness is for you in particular. What is an abundant life for you, or you in particular? And then having a sense of wishing that for yourself, wanting that for yourself. So sometimes we can think that the whole world, we ought to be paying attention to the whole world in a dutiful sort of way, but not to ourselves. Like, well, yeah, but we're not special in the sense that being excluded from that. If we want to look after the world, we need to also to look after ourselves, because we are part of the world. So it's okay to try and kind of want what's the best for us, what really would bring us happiness. It's okay. And when our mind wanders off and something else arises, we start to forget what we're doing in the meditation. We kind of start having negative thoughts about ourselves. Just don't give any of that any attention. Just keep bringing yourself back to a sense of what's happiness in your life, in your experience. And just try to kind of gently want it for yourself, wish it for yourself, like you're just cultivating or trying to keep a little flame going. So you're protecting the flame from the wind. May I be well. So now moving on to the second stage of the Metta Bhavana, and bringing somebody to mind who's a friend, who's roughly the same age, that you're not romantically attached to or attracted to, just to keep it simple, just about another person who we like. And just remembering the qualities of loving kindness, that it's unconditional, so we don't care for somebody because, in order to get something back. It's not an exchange. It's potentially unlimited, so in intensity, so we can want somebody's happiness a little bit or a lot. And thinking of Dalai Lama there, how much he seems to want people's happiness, he really meditates on it. So when he meets them, he's there for them really intensively. And it's also universal, so it's needed by all beings. Love is needed by all beings. So just having a sense of our friend and what their life is like. So we need to put ourselves in their shoes. So what is happiness like for them? What would their experience be? So it might be that if they're an adventurer type, it's like doing bungee jumping or going to Africa and meeting elephants and snakes and all sorts. It might be quite different from what we would like. So so getting into the world of that particular person. That very particular person, our friend, them. And whatever their happy state, happy situation is, just kind of having a sense of gently wishing it for them, wishing this to come about for them. So to do this, we have to leave our sort of sphere of self-concern and self-preoccupation and move into the world of another. But it's okay, we have the time and space to do that. We're not going to collapse if we don't pay attention to ourselves all of the time. So we're adventuring out into another's world. May they be well. So continuing to look for a sense of spaciousness in your experience, reflecting that we are just giving 15 minutes here to ourselves and others. We can afford that time. We need to be not rushing on to the next thing. Think of the benefits of wishing ourselves well, wishing others well after the meditation, when we'll feel more in touch with ourselves and others. So in the final stage of the Metta Bhavana, we begin by just bringing to mind the two people that we've used, ourselves and our friend. And we try and have a sense that how each of us, kind of just wants, underneath it all, there's no difference between us in the way that we do really appreciate things going well, and we don't really want things to not go well. So trying to not prefer ourselves to our friend or our friend to ourselves. And trying to keep in mind, in focus, that whatever feeling we have of what happiness is for ourselves and our friend. Trying to remember that. And then begin to include others. So maybe include the other people who are meditating with us here. So I know that there are people in India and Germany and the UK. And just having a sense of each other's lives and how each of us has a particular I suppose a kind of particular way that we think of happiness. What's happiness, particularly for us. So trying to get into the other people's worlds in different cultures. Just seeing that common thread. So we all like physical health and connection with others. We probably all like to have some sort of understanding of how things are, so that we feel safe. And just gradually expanding out your sphere of interest to include more people. Again, just coming from a sense of spaciousness rather than constriction. From abundance rather than lack, limitation. Just giving ourselves to these people in this time. Moving out from just being concerned with ourselves, being concerned with others. May they be well. Just allowing your heart to just open, just to include more and more living beings, human beings, animals, all sorts of beings that are out there in the universe. wishing them all well. Putting our heart out there for them. So just taking your time to come out of that meditation. Okay, so today, as I said earlier, I thought it'd be good to. Hi, Donna Matty. I thought it'd be good to look at structure and organisation. So yeah, I was kind of pointing to that a little bit in the meditation and the walking meditation about creating a space from which we can then an aesthetic space from which we can act, and yeah. So I mean, Buddhists tend to go have on retreat, and one of the ways we can go on retreat is to go on a solitary retreat. So I used to go down to Cornwall every year and stay on an organic farm, which was like halfway up a hill. And I think the most I ever went there was for a month. So I was just on my own for a month, and it's the longest I ever did. And it was fantastic because I was in a room, but the room was kind of separate from the rest of the house, and so I had my own space. I'd come out and there'd be an outside sink which I'd use, and then I could cut through to like a field, and it was all on a hill, so I'd be looking out over a view which went for miles, with the churches, and it was only about 4 miles away from Land's End. So to just kind of meditate and then have a bit of some breakfast, and then I was just sit in the sunshine looking at a view that went for like 4 miles or something. I mean, I could see Penzance on a clear day. You could see the sea and see Penzance and everything. So the idea with that is to just be on our own and do meditation, but also connect with. I suppose, the point behind this a solitary retreat really is to tune into ourselves a bit more. How what's going, how we are, what we are, separate from other people. So what can happen is we start to kind of realise, what we're interested in and what we're not interested in, that's the main point, of like kind of reconnecting with inspiration and things like that, or with what we're really connected with, separate from what other people want for us, or are doing, or sometimes it's so embedded in society that we just merge into it, and so it's great to just stop and withdraw from that and just sort of say, well, what do we really want in the end? What are we really interested in? And so this enforced isolation that's coming about through the virus, it's a chance to actually, we have a chance to use this situation to withdraw into ourselves and try and make something of the situation, actually, to be on a kind of retreat. So on those retreats, what would happen, generally speaking, would be that I'd get there and then I'd feel all excited. Oh, great! I'm here for all this time, and then I'd start meditating and go for walks out to the sea. And it was about 50 minutes walk away. Beautiful coastline, amazing. And then I'd get into a routine of doing meditation at certain times. And then there'd come a point where, I don't know, things would sort of maybe go a bit chaotic or something. And I'd like lose the thread of what I was doing. And then what would really help would be like just regularly tidying up. So just I was just in a long, thin room. It was with Velux windows. It was about 7 meters long, maybe about 8 foot wide, with a bed on a platform. So just to have a tidy up, just really helped me mental states. Just kind of organise the food, the veg, and all that. So this thing of like structure and organisation, I think is really important in the whole thing of like working with our mental states and trying to kind of be systematic about what we're doing. So there's a book here called Life with Full Attention, and this is by Maitreya Bandhu. So Maitreya Bandhu is one of the senior teachers at London Buddhist Centre, and he wrote this book as a Buddhist course on mindfulness. And it's really interesting that chapter 1 is called day-to-day mindfulness, and what he talks about there. So it's like, what's chapter 2? So chapter 2 is the body, so awareness of the body. We've done a lot of that, but before trying to be aware of the body and the 4 foundations of mindfulness, what he's saying is that first of all we need to be aware of the day-to-day stuff, right? So have you ever walked into the kitchen to get something only to forget what it was you were looking for? And have you gone out, you've forgotten your car keys, all those sorts of things. So what he's talking about here is like sorting out the basic organisational stuff before, as a support to our practice of mindfulness. So kind of knowing where things are, knowing what the situation is, and so I'm involved with a group of people where I'm trying to do that more consciously. So to be organised, to be accountable, and to be doing something called time recording and time planning. One of the ways that I do that is on WhatsApp. So I have a group of people who there's 5 of us, and what we do is we try and share the way that we're organising ourselves. So basically, if you can see that. So this is yesterday, and what I did was I got up at 5:30. And then I did some meditation, which was a visualization meditation. I had a bath, and I prepared for the class, and then I did the class from 7:30 to 8:20, and then had my breakfast, and then I did some time planning. So as I did things, I ticked them off that I actually did it at that time. But then I might say, okay, so from 9:10 to 9:25, I'm going to. So breaking things down into like 15-minute increments is quite a good idea if you want to try and do things. You know, at 9:10 to 9:25, I set myself the task of sorting out the files on my desktop and reorganize so that it's going to become a bit chaotic. So I was going to do that, but actually something came up because somebody rang me up, so I didn't do that. So what I did was I put a cross against. I would copy this whole thing and then repost it but change it and put a cross. So I didn't do that. And what I did was something else. And then I put what I did and ticked it. So there's something about this sort of time recording and planning where it's like what I'm doing is I'm building up a sense of mastery. So this is what Maitreya Bandha talks about. He says, you know, like when we do a to-do list, it's quite good to say, this is what I've done. So this is what I did yesterday. I did this, and this is what I'm going to try and do. So we build up a sense of what we've actually achieved, and but also what we want to try and achieve. So it's not all vague, you know. It's not all kind of vague and woolly. So I think having a sense of good organised direction is, I think it can be really helpful for us. Just when when we're trying to bring something about in life, some goal about in life. I mean, you know, we all have goals, really. You know, I mean, we all have a sense of where we're trying to get to, you know, I think people often. This is why people often like write diaries. You know, so you write a diary and then you look back on it, and it's a bit like it gives you speak to the diary, so you speak to what you were thinking at that time, and you know, yeah, what happened, and yeah, and then, you know, we also like try and sort of set ourselves goals and things as well. So I've been using on WhatsApp. They've got a voice message facility, so you can just record a message, and it just stays there forever. Well, assuming forever. So what I would do would be to sometimes I would just record a message, and it would be a way of me reflecting on my experience, and particularly when things were not going well. So I remember going through a phase where I would get up, and pretty much every morning I'd have this feeling of dread, you know, of you know, like just sometimes life's a struggle, you know, especially when you've got change going on, you know, your relationships end and new situations come about that are you might be in a different job, and it's hard to kind of assimilate how to do that job, and whatever it is, you've moved city, you moved house, it's like it's all unfamiliar, and it's like, whoa, your psyche can't cope with it. So I had a phase last year where I was waking up pretty much feeling fear and dread about the day. And what I would do would be to do a voice recording, and I would say in the voice, maybe for 10 minutes or something, and I'd just sort of say, okay, well, all right, what I did, this happened yesterday, I want you to try and do that. That happened, I didn't manage it, this is how I felt, this is how I felt about this person, this is how I felt about that person, and it would just be there, and I would sort of, as a record. So this is maybe like 8 o'clock in the morning or something, and then it's, because it comes around, it's now 10 o'clock, and I go, okay, I'm going to play this recording and see what was happening to me 2 hours ago. This is me coping under difficult circumstances. So I'd play the recording, and then I'd go, oh yeah, oh right, oh yeah, that was what was going on at 8 o'clock. Oh well, I got through that. It's now 10 o'clock, and this is now happening. So I didn't manage that, but I did manage this. So I get this sense of mastery, but also a sense of changing internal panorama. What's going on internally as changes over time. And some of that anxiety has lifted now, and it's all right, and da da da. And then just kind of, particularly doing recording when I'm struggling, just kind of grounds it in awareness, I suppose. I'm being aware of that particular thing, and I'm saying, this is what happened, and in a way, later on when I look at it, I'm going, oh well, I had the courage to actually say what was going on there, and it's now shifted a bit, and yeah. So there's a thing about structure. So all of the not all, but many great people who've done great things in life have been very structured in their lives. So one of the most famous philosophers of the Enlightenment period was Immanuel Kant, and he was I got the audio book, a very short introduction to Immanuel Kant, fantastic book. So he was really well liked in Königsberg, where he lived in Germany, and but he used to get up and he used to be in his nightgown and all, and his slippers most of the day. But he would then have a walk, and he would. It's like this. The legend is that people used to set their clocks by when he came past, because he was so regular. Like every day was exactly. He did the same thing every day, and. But he really managed through that to dig into what's the most important things here in philosophy. What he came up with was things like we have an internal moral compass that we all know what's the right thing and what isn't the right thing. So it's not about some abstract ideas about metaphysics or whatever. It's about we all know what the right thing is, and. So he came out with like really important ideas like that just inform our society and our culture today. So, and he did that through having this regular, structured life. And when we go on retreat, it's like that. It's like this. It's very structured. We have meditation sessions at certain times, then times where there's meal times, times for study groups, and the structure kind of supports us. And sometimes it's challenging because we think, oh, I really don't want to. I really don't want to meditate. I'd rather lay in bed. But yeah, I think if we can work with structure in a gentle kind of way, rather than again, we have this tendency in the West to just force ourselves to do things. Like you should do this, you should do that. That isn't how things work. The way things work is like if the conditions are right, we do things. If we're convinced about something, we'll do it, not because we think we should do it. So yeah, so I think that with this idea of structure, it's like it's not always, things don't often happen like directly, So there's a phrase, polish here, shines there. If you polish over here, it shines over there. So if in my experience, I've done a lot of tidying up in my flat over the last year, in the idea that it's something called possession consciousness. So it's like basically tidying up, but it's being aware of possessions and throwing away stuff that doesn't work anymore, or things that when we look at it, it doesn't bring us a sense of joy. So I've kind of cleared my flat a lot. So I like a kind of bit more of a empty space, like these bookshelves behind with not much on them, and it just helps me psyche feel like there is space to move into, so polishing here by tidying up, by giving attention to tidying the flat, by cleaning the floor of the kitchen and all that sort of thing, indirectly helps me be in a better mental state and helps me be more organised in terms of getting jobs and money coming in and all that sort of stuff, and giving attention to that, But if it's all chaos in my flat, then that'll be in the way psychically when I'm trying to do something important, like get a job or get some money coming in, or pay attention to that, give attention to what I'm spending and what I'm saving and all that sort of thing, or any other aspect of life. So aesthetics is really important, but I think I indicated earlier about maybe going about this in a mindful sort of way. So I think the way that it works best is that you create a space within. It might be a space on your computer screen where you've organised a bit of it. Maybe you clear everything into a folder and just put desktop and everything's in that, so it's not all over the screen, And just doing that is like create some space for you, and then you can work from there. Or you clear a bit of your flat and make a bit of your flat nice, and then that encourages you to feel better, and then from feeling better, you then very gradually, maybe start to tidy the rest of the flat, but not rush it, not pushing yourself and forcing yourself, but in your own time, when you feel like it, so you're working from a positive, a feeling of spaciousness and happiness with some of what you've got, some of what you've done in your flat. So I don't know what more there is to say today. Yeah, I think this is a really good book. I'll put a link to it in the on the page, and just wish you well with today, and things are going okay with me. I think I've had some donations come in. Thank you very much, and I've got enough money for the data for the month, and I've got enough money to pay somebody to do the videos, put titles on them, and put them onto YouTube. I have put the first 9 onto Twitter, so people can look at them there. So, but I'm trying to think long term. It's like I need to not just be rushing to do everything. Things will happen in their own time. So but it's just great to have this way of sharing and helping, and I receive when I do this. Every day when I do a class here, I am forced to think about the issues that I need to think about. So today I've been forced to think about the issues that are to do with my own flat and my own organisation, and the fact that my computer is saying to me there is no more disk space, and I'm going to have to do something about that, because I've been doing lots of things with videos. So yeah, it's really helpful to me to do this and to be teaching myself the things I need to know as I do the class. So good luck, and I'll see you all later. All right, thank you.